Hi everyone, it's Lynn Dion here from Pink Whisper Designs. Today I thought we'd make a fun little flip card using some of the new products from Lawn Fawn. So let's go ahead and get started. So for the card base, we're going to be using the Lawn Fawn Mermaid cardstock. This is a 100-pound weight, and this panel measures 5.5 by 8.5. And I'm going to go ahead and score this at 4.25. And this will make a standard A2 size card. So now I've scored at 4.25. I'm going to flip this over, and on the inside I'm going to mark with a pencil at 2 1/8. Now I'm going to draw a line here, and I'm going to use my T ruler to do that, just to make sure this is nice and straight. So I'm just lining the T ruler up at that 2 1/8 mark, and I'm going to draw a light pencil line here. That's going to be our score line. Now I want to find the middle, so I'm going to go at 2.75 or 2 3/4. I'm going to mark that. That's our center point, just for reference here when we start to lay out the dies. So we're going to be using these adorable new stamps from the Love Poems Stamp and Die set. And we're going to be using this die here. Now that's my center point, so that first die, I just want to line that up so it's centered on the card. And I'm going to mark the bottom of that die with a pencil line, so that when I die cut all three of these, they will all line up perfectly. So I'm taking my T ruler again, and I'm going to draw a second light pencil line there. And that's just going to be the line we use to line up the dies straight across the bottom. And that top pencil line is going to be our score line, but we're not going to score that yet. First, we're going to attach the die, again centering this first one, taping it down with a little bit of purple tape, and then we're going to cut right up to that score line. So we're going to be cutting the right hand side from that line over. So if I line up my plate right along that score line, I'm going to go ahead and run that through, and that's going to cut everything to the right of that line. And you can see that there. So now I'm going to go ahead and position this die again using the bottom of the die right along that bottom pencil line, and I'm centering it between the edge of the card and that other die that we've already cut. And now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to run that through again. So again, I'm going to slide that plate in just up to that second pencil line. I'm going to make sure it's nice and straight, and then I'm going to run that through again. And now you'll see that we have two of those cut. Now the last thing we have to do is this third one, and again I'm going to center it between the middle one and the edge of the card. And I'm going to go ahead and line that plate up with that score line. And now I want to score this. So I'm going to go ahead and use my bone folder here, and I'm just going to score those lines in between the cuts that we made. Now using my Statler eraser, I'm going to erase all of my pencil lines. We don't need any of these now. So now you can see that I'm ready to start folding the card. So the first thing I'm going to do is fold the card in to create that standard A2 size card. So I'm just folding it in half. And I'm going to use my bone folder just to press out that crease. Now I'm going to fold back on these other score lines that we made. In between the cuts, we made those score lines. And I'm going to fold that back, and I'm just going to press out those lines. And that's going to give us our little flip card here. So you can see that it easily opens and closes, and you can see where we made those cuts there as well. Now for the stamps, I'm going back to the Love Poems, and I want the little mice holding the paper and the coordinating die. And then I also want this little mouse here and that coordinating die as well. And this is from the You're Just My Type, which is also another brand new stamp set. And then I want that little word bubble from the Love Letter stamp set and the coordinating die for that as well. So I'm going to go ahead and do my stamping. I'm using the VersaFine Onyx Black ink. And I'm going to stamp 2 of this one here. And I'm doing my stamping on the Bristol Smooth 100-pound cardstock. And the next one is just slightly different, a little different expression on the mouse. And I'm going to use that in the middle. So we'll have 3 of these little mice all together. Now I also want to stamp the sentiments in here while I have these easy to stamp here. So I'm going to go ahead and stamp the roses are red, violets are blue, sugar is sweet, and now to do the rest of it, I'm going to grab that little mouse and I'm going to stamp that. And then I'm going to grab that word bubble and stamp that as well. And on the inside of the word bubble, I'm going to stamp the rest of that poem, which says, "And so are you." So now you can see we have everything stamped. So I'm going to go ahead and do my coloring, and I'm just using 2 colors, light gray and sugared almond pink. And I'm also going to be using my blender pen, and these are the Zig Clean Color Real Brush pens, and these are a water-based marker, and they have a fine detail tip. Now when you use the blender pen, you do want to make sure you clean it off. And to make sure it's clean, you just scribble it on a scrap piece of paper until it goes clear. And then you can go ahead and do your coloring. And if you're changing colors, you want to do the same thing. So again, I'm not doing a real lot of shading here. I'm just using the light gray, and I'm just going to blend that out. And I did all 3 of the little mice the same way, adding a little bit of pink to their cheeks and a little bit of pink in their ears here. So very simple coloring. And then for the word bubble and for the inside for the paper, I'm going back to the sugared almond pink, and I'm just kind of putting a little bit of it all the way around, and then I'm going to pull it in towards the center just to keep that center pretty much almost white. So I'm just fading it out till I get to the center there. And I did the rest of those the same way, and I'm going to do the same thing for the word bubble as well. So now that you can see all of those are colored in, now I'm going to grab the coordinating dies, and I'm going to go ahead and tape these down with a little bit of purple tape, and I'm going to run these through my Sizzix Sidekick machine. Now I have all of these die cut, and you can see those are going to sit right on those little flaps there. So what I want to do is add some pattern paper before we glue those down. So I'm going to use the Spring Fling 6x6 paper pack, and I'm using those 2 on the left. You can see that beautiful floral, and then the small tiny dot pattern almost. And then with the outside in stitched rectangle stackables, I'm going to grab that largest one, and I'm going to die cut both of these. That one's going to sit on the inside of our card. And for this one, I didn't need a full piece. I just need part of this. I wanted the stitching to go around all 3 sides. And I'm just measuring right up until that score line there. I'm just marking it with a pencil. And that measures 2 inches. So I'm going to go ahead and cut this at the 2-inch mark. And that's going to sit right on that front panel of our card with a little bit of a border all the way around. So now I wanted to do a little bit of inking around the edges. So I'm going to use my Distress Oxide in the Spun Sugar. And I'm just going to go around 3 sides of this, the 3 stitch sides. And this is just going to soften those edges a little bit and kind of bring some of that pink that we used on the images into the card a little bit more. And here I'm going to do 3 sides again. I don't need to do that bottom section because that's going to get covered. So I'm going to do all 3 sides, and I'm bringing that pink in just a little bit more on the corners and just blending it out. And I want the center to stay white. And you can see that there. So now using my Lawn Fawn 1/4 inch double-sided tape, I'm going to go ahead and tape these to my card. I'm just removing the backing here, and then I'm going to center this one on the inside panel of my card. And I want that edge that we did not ink down towards the bottom, because that edge is going to get covered. So I'm just centering that, and now I'm going to do the same thing with the one on the top here. I'm just placing that tape all around, removing the backing, and then I'm going to line this up with that score line. And center it and tape that in place as well. So now for this bottom section, what I wanted to do is create a little panel for my mouse to sit on here. So I'm going to go ahead and take that large rectangle again, the same one we used before, and I'm going to die cut that out of some Bristol Smooth cardstock. And using the Valentine border dies, we're going to cut that pretty heart border. And now I'm going to use my T-ruler just to make sure that I line this up properly on this panel. I just want to get it nice and straight. So I'm just placing the T-ruler down, and then I'm going to tape that border in place, and I'm going to run that through my die cutting machine. So now that we have that panel die cut, I'm going to go ahead and place that in my Tim Holtz trimmer. And I'm going to leave maybe about 1/8 or 1/4 of an inch above those hearts. And then I'm just going to trim that off. And that's going to leave that nice stitch border on the bottom and the sides. And now I'm going back to my Spring Fling paper pack, and I'm going to grab that pink color. And that's going to sit right behind this panel. So I'm using my Lawn Fawn glue tube, and I'm going to place glue all over the back of this. And then I'm going to glue that to that pink panel. And then I'm going to go ahead and cut away the excess there. Now I want to ink this up as well, just like we did before. So I'm going back to the spun sugar, and I'm just going to do the 3 sides again. All 3 of the stitch sides. And you can see that up close there. Now I'm just going to attach that right down at the bottom of that floral border, or that floral panel. And I'm just going to place plenty of tape on here. I'm trimming away any excess tape, and then I'm going to attach that to my card. And I'm lining it up again with that floral panel. I wanted to create 4 more of the little pink hearts. So I'm using that border just to die cut 4 little hearts. And I'm going to attach those to each of these little, the little mice holding the paper, and one to that word bubble. And I'm going to use my jewel picker to pick these up. And this makes it go very quickly. And now I'm just going to set those aside to dry. Now I'm going to grab my glitter pen from Lawn Fawn, and I'm going to add a little bit of sparkle to each of these little hearts. And this is just a clear glitter. And then I decided I would also add that glitter in each of these little hearts here as well, just so everything coordinates together. And I'm not sure you can see that there, but it gives a really pretty little sparkle to those hearts. Now I can go ahead and attach the little mice here. And I'm again going back to the glue just because that'll give me a little bit of time to move these and position these in place. And I am going to use my finger here just to spread that glue out a little bit because I want to make sure that I have glue all the way up to the edges. Because this card is going to be getting moved in and out and opened and closed, so I want to make sure that those are on there very securely. And again, the glue gives me a little time here to position those properly. So I'm going to let that dry and go and continue and do these other two as well. And as always, all of the supplies that I'm using today are listed below. So now you can see that we have all three of those in place. Now for this little mouse, I'm going to go ahead and pop him up a little bit. So I'm just taking a little bit of Scotch foam mounting tape, and I'm just going to try to make sure he's between those two mice at the top. I don't want him to interfere with the mechanism here of opening and closing. So I want to make sure he's down low enough so that he doesn't catch on that. And now for the word bubble, I want to hide it behind one of these flaps. And it fits exactly in there. So what I'm going to do is put some glue on it. And I want to make sure that I have it upside down in here because when we close the card, it'll be right side up. You can see that there. So I'm just going to set it right inside this little panel here. And once it's positioned in there, I'm going to go ahead and close the card. And that'll just pick that up and it'll be exactly where we want it to be. And also with the glue here, again, if it's not perfectly straight, you just position it a little bit, move it around a little bit till you get it exactly where you want it to be. And you can see there now it's really nicely hidden behind that little panel. I decided to add a little bow here, so I'm going to use the lawn trimmings. This is the aquamarine hemp cord. And it's going to be on that panel there. So I'm just going to run it all the way around the back of that panel. And I'm going to go ahead and tie a bow. And this was a little bit of a battle here. I could have used an extra set of hands, but I did decide to grab my reverse tweezers, which they close and it almost acts as like a little bit of a clamp. So you can slide your tweezers in there and it'll clamp it down and hold it for you so that you can finish tying a knot or a bow, whatever you want to do here. So once I had that done, and I did play around with this for a little while, and then I just trimmed off any excess. And now you can see my completed card. And I just love that the sentiment is just so cute. Roses are red, violets are blue, sugar is sweet, and so are you. I love that. And I love when you open the card that the sentiment is hidden behind there. Now you could just sign up underneath there or on the back, whatever you prefer. So I hope you enjoyed today's video. If you did, please hit the like button and subscribe. And don't forget to visit me at pinkwhisperdesigns.com. As always, thank you so much for joining me today. Have a great day. Bye-bye.